Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Jones from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and I'm excited to be here with you today, as always, on this episode of Software Success. We are talking about cut and stitch again, and it's definitely becoming one of my favorite dime software very quickly. So we'll give a few minutes for everyone to join in. I see we already have some familiar viewers out there. So Nina says it's cold in Iowa City, Iowa. I'm sure it is. There's a lot of cold weather joining, so it's definitely a good day to be in learning software, right, Nina? So thank you so much for joining. So and sunny in Tennessee. So thanks for joining, Carolyn. So hi, Marianne. It's good to see you in Ohio. I know that you're probably a little chilly up there too. So Linda Johnson, leaving my sewing room to attend this class. Hardly anything else will get me to leave my room. Oh, Linda, that makes my heart smile. Well, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. So, and hopefully it's worthwhile. So when you get back to your sewing room, you'll have some new knowledge to apply. So. Hi, Annie. Thanks for joining. She said it's dreary in Gainesville, Florida. I agree. I'm down in southern Florida, and we've had like a lot of overcast weather too. So the weather has just been really crazy throughout the U.S., I think. So, hey, Laura, how are you from Nebraska? So, Laura's a frequent flyer. Thanks for joining. Judy Balgram. And so, thanks for joining, Judy, from Minnesota. But it's sunny. It's cold, but sunny. So that's always a good thing too. So thanks for being here. Thanks for joining, Dawn. You guys know Dawn from Creative Applique. Thanks for joining us today. And my neighbor Harriet Ann Palmer. Thanks for joining, Harriet Ann. And my friend Bet Cooley. Thanks for joining. Good to see you, Bet. And Laurie. Lots of familiar names here today. You guys know Laurie. She's part of our education team. Reen Wilcoxon of Embroidery Gardens. Thanks for joining, everyone. So Shar, thanks for being here. South Dakota, I bet you're chilly too. So I know that there's plenty of people that love the cold weather. And so if you do, I hope you're getting it and enjoying it. I absolutely love the snow, not necessarily the cold, but I do really love the snow. So thanks for joining, everyone. So I'm excited today about cut and stitch. I've got some different things to share with you, but I think that you're going to love it. I've got lots of ideas on our demonstrations on the shaping tools, which to me are really important in the software. So that's what we'll be talking to. So Jan, thanks for joining. So another frequent flyer. So good to see all of these names that I recognize. So okay, I think we've got a good group already here today. So Pat, so if you haven't already, let us know where you're watching from. I always like to read, and I do go back and read the comments. So hopefully if I don't miss any of your questions, hopefully I don't miss any as we go. But of course, if you ask a question, you're certainly welcome to ask it again if I miss it, because I really do like to make sure that everybody has their questions addressed. So thanks for being here, everybody, and sharing this morning with me. Or afternoon with me here. It might be morning where you are. So, but let's talk about what we're going to see today in this presentation. So today on Software Success, you know that this presentation, these live events, we talk about nothing but software. So of course, it's embroidery software, and our cut and stitch actually has features that work with your digital cutter. So it is a software that works with your digital cutter and your embroidery machine all in one. The 2 weeks ago on Software Success, we talked about kind of getting started and the fact that cut and stitch has the ability to create a variety of different types of designs for use with different media. And so today we're just going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to talk about importing your own artwork and what you can do with it, and also an auto knockout feature, which is a particular type of design that you see in the crafting world a lot, where one shape takes on or literally is knocked out into usually letters, like you can see there on the screen with that little Valentine item. And then also you can use our auto-vectorizing tool if you have an image that is a clip art type image that you want to convert to an an artwork file that you cut or even turn into embroidery. So if you missed 2 weeks ago, just as a reminder, cut and stitch software that we're talking about today, it can create and edit and manipulate art files, and it can also save them out to artwork formats that our digital cutters read, like SVG, FCM, XF, PLT. I'm trying to come up with all of them. And so, but the majority of us use an SVG for most all cutter brands will read that. So we can read and write that format from Cut and Stitch. But Cut and Stitch will also create an embroidery design as well. So that same artwork file can be turned into embroidery. You can also turn it into a rhinestone template design where your digital cutter cuts out all the little holes for the rhinestones. You can rake them in there and then transfer that to your item. And of course, because it's software, and you can do any combination of those 3 different types of media if you want. So it's really up to you and your design choice. So what you would like to do with your software. So let's get started and talk about some of the things that we're talking about today. And then of course, if you guys have questions along the way, make sure that you're asking. I'm always happy to answer them. And if you do have a question, put like a few question marks before you start. That'll just help me pick it out of the list of questions. And I actually see a couple of questions already. And Liz says, does this work with the Artistic Edge digital cutter? Yes, Liz, it does. Liz, your Artistic cutter should receive a file, like an SVG file, and we do save to those formats. So yes, it will work with your Artistic Edge digital cutter for sure. So if you've got other questions, make sure you're letting putting those in the chat so that I can make sure to get them answered. So, okay, so let's just start kind of by creating this design again, and then changing it to the different types. That's kind of what we went over 2 weeks ago, but if we have someone new, this will kind of give you a quick overview. Um, the opportunity just to kind of refresh. So I'm going to open up a new page here. And so let's put our text on the screen. So I'm going to choose my text tool up here in the top left. And then I'm going to click one time and it'll add that to my workspace. And then over here in the properties box, I can change my text. Okay, so we put a heart in the place of the E. So I'm going to, or the O, sorry, the LOVE. And so I'm going to leave the O out and I'm just going to do LVE and then click apply. Now, because I'm going to turn this to a rhinestone design, I really like a chunkier font. And so one that I use a lot that most of you guys probably have is Cooper. That's probably built into your TrueType fonts. So this list of fonts are actually TrueType fonts. So those are the fonts that live on my computer. They're the fonts that you see in your programs like Word or your Adobe products, things like that. Those are TrueType fonts. You can get tons of new ones on the internet just by searching for TrueType fonts and download them and install them. So mine may look different than yours if I've downloaded and installed some that you don't have. So, okay, so I've got my LVE. And so for my heart shape, I'm going to space the letters out, and this double triangle here will allow me to move my letters around easily. So that's the on-screen kerning. And now we're going to put a heart here. So one of the things I wanted to show you about Cut and Stitch is it has nice artwork features to create different artwork shapes by just clicking the heart and dragging on your screen. It will create a heart. But I also wanted to show you that something that's unique to Cut and Stitch is the morph feature. Morph is only in Cut and Stitch, and it is a really fun way to create an artwork shape. So there are several different shapes built in, and what Morph does is it allows you to adjust these sliders to make a completely different shape on the screen. So you just kind of can, work with these to manipulate them. You can see that by dragging these kind of gives you a completely different look. So the arrow, we've got a polygon, where you can add more faces. So if you need like an octagon, we do have a hexagon built in already in the artwork tools, but you certainly can make, an octagon if you need an octagon, or the other shapes as well. You can round those points. We have a heart, a moon, a flower, and a tree. The flower I use quite regularly. I love being able to just adjust those petals to give me a look. But I'm going to use the heart for this one. Okay. So, and for this one, you can just adjust these sliders to kind of get the look that you're going for. I just wanted a little bit different looking heart versus what was the normal perfect heart shape from our artwork. So, and I think that looks pretty cute. So I'm just going to say, okay. Now the reset, if I were to hit that, it would put everything back to the beginning. So I'm going to say, okay. And then I'm going to click and drag to draw my heart. Okay, so you just click and drag once you have used that tool, and let's change colors. So before we talked about the color changing with the down below your color chips. To change the LVE to pink, I'm going to right mouse click on the color chip that I want to change to. Now for the heart, I'm going to right mouse click on red. And the heart's not filled, so let's fill that in. So over here in my properties, I'm going to choose fill and click apply. So that is how easy it is to create that shape. Now, to turn this shape into an applique, I would simply click the applique option here right on my toolbar. Now, when I turn this into an applique, we're going to see this. This is something that you can look for. It may not do the best job. It's actually kind of a small lettering. It's 1 inches tall. So let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to click, and you can see that kind of made a mess. Okay. So there's a few things that you can do. So certainly we can separate our letters out here to make it look a little bit better. But because these texts are only 1 inch tall, you can adjust the applique width over here in your properties area. And that's going to make that stitch a little bit narrower, just like that. And so then you can see your design a little bit better. So I'm going to do an undo and another undo. And it just takes a little bit of time. It was being slow earlier today. And so I see while that's doing the undo there, I see that Amy Gibbs has a question saying that she can't watch the whole thing. And so is there a way to ask questions after the live? And so Amy, that's actually a great question. So what I would recommend is if you go to our Facebook user group called Dime Inspiration Software Users and post a question there, and you can tell them that you were watching the live, and that hopefully will have somebody look at this video if they need to look at it to get you an answer. So, and I see there's a couple of people saying that the sound is cutting out. So let me try to switch to a different mic and see if that helps. And so we'll try that. So hopefully that'll help there with the sound. So yeah, go Dime Inspiration Software Users, and that will allow people to be able to answer questions for you. So, and then so now that I did undo, so I don't have that narrow stitch anymore. Another thing you can do is resize your design. If you're, if you can fit it in a larger area, you can see that when you resize, then I've got a little bit more space in my design there, and it's going to stitch just a little bit better looking. So it really just depends on what look you're going for. Now, if you wanted to turn this to a rhinestone design, select your text and just click on the rhinestone function. And I'm going to change that to red. And you can see that this small, again, our letters are not easily visible. So now watch what happens when you go much larger. You can make out those letters better. So if you have a design that you've turned into rhinestone, look great, it might need to be a little bit different size. And depending on what you're putting it on, that's going to, make a difference too. So, okay, so now that we kind of recapped from last time, let's talk about bringing in a artwork file from to get more artwork files. So there are tons of built-in files in the cut and stitch software that you can use from the library. You can edit them. You can combine two of them to make different designs. It's really a large selection, and you can also just use a part or a piece of a design. You can also use files that maybe came with or that you have purchased for your digital cutters. So for instance, your Scan and Cut, maybe even your Cricut, Silhouette, or if you have a Caesar cutter, any of those cutters, a lot of times they'll give you some free files to work with. You certainly can do that with the cutter. So the audio is still not great. Is that I'm getting some signals here. So can you guys hear me okay? Um, Tell me out there in the chat if you the sound is cutting out really badly. So let me try to switch to another uh mic here and see if that will make a difference. So only so many mics that we have. And I'm just going to make sure nothing else is running here. So looks pretty good. Okay, so let me switch to a my mic one more time. Okay, so have we got audio? Is that sounding any better? Okay, so we're doing okay for right now. I'm getting a head nod. Okay, and I see people are commenting. Thank you for commenting out there in the chat. So hopefully this will help. Yes, so Vicky says yes. Thank you, Vicky, for piping in. Okay, so just to reiterate, I was just saying that, artwork files, you can get artwork files from a variety of different places. There's tons of them that come with our software. You can use ones that come with your digital cutter. You also can search the internet for cut files, vector files, or SVG files. Just make sure when you're searching the internet that you're paying attention to the licenses and the usage terms for any designs that you are using. And there's tons of places to buy them as well. I'm going to use these cute little lovebirds here just to show you how to import. I got those from a site called publicdomainvectors.org. It's a place that you can go and look and see if they have one. So if you go to publicdomainvectors.org, that's where I got those little lovebirds. So, and that's the one I'm going to import and show you how to use it. It's really simple. You don't have to do anything special. So if I head back over here and open up a new workspace here, and then I'm going to go File and Import Artwork. And that's all we need to do. And then locate the artwork on your computer. Mine, I just saved it right on my desktop. And I'm going to click Open. And there is my design. Now, even though I did not get this from within our library of designs, it works the exact same way. So if I want to turn this design into an applique, I can just click the applique option on the screen. If I want to turn this into a rhinestone design, I just simply click the rhinestone design. So super easy, right? And let me head back into the applique because I want to show you one more thing while we're here. So this design for the applique, you can see that these stitches are together. So let's talk about the same kind of thing. You can change the applique width if you want, but you also change this stitch type. So I can do an E-stitch, which is like a buttonhole or a blanket stitch. And you can see that, well, actually, let me do an undo. It gave me a bunch of stitches there because of the stitches for the embroidery. And so if you go from the artwork, you won't have all of those extra stitches there. So in fact, let me just go File and Open other artwork, and then that way we don't have to wait for it to undo. For some reason, my computer is just being slow. Okay, so I just brought the artwork in again. So now let's take a look at this. So if I convert this to an applique, or I'm sorry, not the applique, but the applique, and then over to my E-stitch, I want my E-stitch to line up. So I'm going to put it at the inset being 100 so that it lines up with my tack down. So 100% lined up, and then the tack down offset, I'm going to put it at 0 and click apply. So you can see now I've got that blanket stitch, but it still looks a little strange, right? Well, that's because the blanket stitch is stitching to the inside of that second heart, whereas if we want the applique to be around the outside, we need to say adjust holes. So I'm going to say adjust holes. That's over here in my properties, and click apply. And now you can see my little stitches facing the opposite direction, but I am still going to shorten these up because I have such a narrow area there. And you can also increase the distance or reduce the distance between those stitches as well. So that adjust holes there is a really good tool to be able to use when you're working with something like this that does have an opening, and we want our applique to be in between these two hearts and not necessarily the whole thing. So hopefully that makes sense. So and it's really that easy. I really don't have to tell you anything else about using artwork from outside sources, because if you're importing a vector file, it's that simple to bring it in, and then you can just turn it into whatever type of stitching that you want, just like we did when we clicked and brought that in. So really easy, right? Okay, so now that we've seen that, let's talk about some artwork editing, and then we'll talk about also doing an image and using these shaping tools too, is what I want to talk about. So before we do that, let's see if we have any questions or comments. So I will just scroll back here and just check and see if we have questions. So I see that Joyce says, why does the heart have the horizontal line run through it? So that was just like your jump stitch, I think, on that line. So I don't think it was a stitch, but it may have just been something crazy. But it probably was just a jump for that. And if you have to edit an embroidery design, cut and stitch is not designed for doing major digitizing or editing. Then you would need to use like Perfect Embroidery Pro to be able to do that. So if you ever find anything with an artwork that you import or use from within the software, if it needs editing, edit the artwork first and then convert it. That'll make it a lot easier. But if you need to edit the embroidery, that's really what our Perfect Embroidery Pro is all about. So, and then Debbie Williams says, where can I find the more features? So it's only part of the cut and stitch software. So if you own cut and stitch, it's under your artwork drop down tool. So you'll see the artwork icon, click the drop down, and it's at the bottom of the list. So that's a really good question there. And so I was just scrolling back here to see if we have any other questions here. So Kathy says, as I have so many of the software packages, what would PEP offer that the other software do not? And that actually is to the comment that I just made. Perfect Embroidery Pro is a full-featured digitizing editing program. It has the ability to create any type of stitch manually, and it also has the ability to edit embroidery as well. So that's our most powerful program. It's the only one that we have at this time that will digitize a fill stitch and allow you to make those necessary edits as well. So really good question. So Callie says, can I use True Type fonts and make it into these designs? Yes, you can. So that True Type font that I used for the L, V, and E, it would work exactly the same way, Callie. Very good question. So True Type fonts are something that you can use and download and install on your computer, and it just adds to that list and just gets longer and longer and longer. So, and then Shari says, I don't have all the icons lit up on the top of my screen when I'm opening my program. How do I activate different things? So depending on what is not active, Shari, it may mean that you don't have that something on your screen that works with that tool. Make sure whenever you do open your workspace that you do have a new workspace, that it's not a gray screen. If it's gray, that means you don't have a workspace open. So make sure you click the new page button. If you've clicked the new page button and some of them are grayed out, it's because they are functions that need to apply to designs or artwork. And so they may not be active until you put an artwork or a design on the screen. So sometimes they're grayed out if we can't use that function with what we're trying to do. So that's another really good question. And so Dalu, is it Dalu? I thank you for being here. I see you all the time. I hope I'm not murdering your name. And so are you going to show us how to do the Be Mine? Yes, that's the knockout feature. So I absolutely am going to show you that. It's one of my favorite features built in. So if not, can I private message you to see how? So you can always private message me. A lot of people do that from our Facebook group. So if you need help, all of our educators are great at answering any questions about our software. And so, but certainly you can, but I'm going to show you how to create that. So that was a fun little and easy design to make too. So, and then Shelly said she started late. What's the name of the software? So Shelly, it's Cut and Stitch that I'm showing today. It's a program that saves embroidery designs or files for your digital cutter. So this is one program you can use with both places. And then Lisa says, can you add embroidery to an applique such as an eye or a break split? So you can add embroidery, like if you have a design that you want to bring in, you can certainly bring a design into Cut and Stitch. And then the beak split that you're referring to, you do have a run stitch built into Cut and Stitch, so you could certainly do that. Just draw the line and turn it. I'll show you that when I go back too. That's actually a really good one. So in fact, before I answer another question, I see a couple more here. Let me head back over to the software before I forget those those questions here. So if I go back to our little birdie that we brought in to add like the split or an eye. So for an eye, you might want to just draw an artwork circle. And so here's that morph feature that we were asking about. So under your artwork tool, you have all of these shapes, but morph is the very last one. Morph is only available if you own Cut and Stitch. But for an eye, you could certainly draw, a little ellipse here. And then convert that to stitches. So now to turn that into a stitch, your options are run stitch or applique. But if you click on your auto-vectorizing tool, it will say, do you want to turn that into stitches? So then it'll do stitches for you. And in fact, it just did a run stitch. So let me do, oh my goodness, why is my undo so slow? I need to quit. That's a key that I use a ton, is my undo on my keyboard, my Control Z. And so since for whatever reason it's being really slow on me, I need to not hit undo. And so because it was just an outline, it did a run stitch. But if I fill it in here, and you can see it's just a blue circle, and then I have it selected, and then I hit my wizard, it'll say, do you want to digitize that? And you can see that it made a little satin stitch for me. And then for the beak split, like, this one has one, but if you wanted to add something, you certainly could use your artwork pen tool and just draw a little shape, like if it's this little line here, and then you can convert that line into like that run stitch to make kind of a separation. Now, you don't have all digitizing tools in Cut and Stitch, because Cut and Stitch is really more about using embroidery with the cutter, so we mostly use applique in that regard. So, but yeah, you certainly can do those things in cut and stitch. So that's very good questions. Now, and as far as stuff being grayed out, so for instance, you can see here that when I click away, a lot of my tools are grayed out. I can't select any of them. But once I select an object, then some of them become available. But even look at these shaping tools. That's what we're about to talk about. Even those are not available. And so to make those become available, you have to have something that works with it. So because these shaping tools work with two objects, then I'm going to select, let's do the trim one first. So if I select my two hearts and click on the trim option here, we can see what it does. So trim is going to cut out where your shapes overlap and give you this sort of look, but it leaves this top shape here. Weld, if I select both of these and choose the weld option, weld puts my two objects as one. So if I were to turn this into a run stitch, now I've got a run stitch that follows all the way around the outside, whereas before, with two separate objects, I would have two completely separate hearts there. So, so that's just understanding the difference between weld and some of these other features. So intersect tool, you can see the little icon. It just has the dark red in the center because it's only going to leave where these two objects overlap. Now, in that case, that's not super helpful, but it could be depending on what shapes you have together. Now, subtract does what trim does, only it removes the object that's on the top. So you can see how it's got a red box in the back and a white box in the front, or an empty box. When you click that, it will trim, but it also removes all in one click. So even though you could accomplish that with just a way to have less clicks. So that's the subtract tool. Now exclude is going to, you can take a look here, it's going to leave the two objects, but it's actually going to make a hole where they intersect. So when you see that object, you can see kind of that icon, what it's talking about doing. And now the crop, I have a really interesting way to use the crop. Now remember, you've got all of these built-in designs that you certainly can play with, and we've got lots of objects, but I wanted a heart that was multiple colors. So what I did was went in here and I've got my hamburger, and I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, what in the world are we going to do with a heart and a hamburger? Although the heart is not good for your hamburger, is not good for your heart, but we're going to use it in a little bit different way. So my heart, in the background, I've got just the heart selected, and I'm going to bring that forward. So I'm going to click my move to front so my heart is on top. And if I select all of this together and then use my crop artwork option, then it cuts out that shape into the object that's in the back. Now, what I thought was cute is, what if I change these to some cute little fun colors? And then I've got a cute little heart. Look at that. Isn't that cute? So depending on what design you need, you can really create it using these features or some of the built-in designs. Now, the repeat on path, notice here, the repeat on path is this last one. And again, it's not grayed out. I have to select two objects for it to come available, but this is really important. The repeat on path, to make this work, your object that you want to repeat on the path has got to be open underneath. So do you see how my arc is open? So I'm going to remove that and I'm going to show you how I drew that. Okay. So I'm going to use my artwork tool here, and from the drop down list, I'm going to select the pen tool, and I'm going to click and I'm going to press the A on my keyboard. That's going to turn it into the arc tool. And then I'm just going to click like a teepee, and it automatically does an arc. So isn't that cute? So let's do that again. So I'm going to go back to my regular. So under here, it's still selected, but I'm just going to show you. So the pen tool will allow you to draw, trace, create your own shapes, and you can draw by clicking. Okay. And when I click, if I click, click, just like we did before, I just have this spike. To make the arc, I press the A on my keyboard, and I don't have to remember. If you look below your color chips, there are some letters that tell you that you can use these shortcuts. So I'm going to press A and click 3 times, and it's going to automatically turn that into an arc or half circle for me. So, okay. And then if I go back to S, it's just my simple draw. So now let's talk about how to use the repeat on path. So I'm going to select either one of these will be fine. So I'm going to select my shape and my heart. And now look at this. This is another really good point. See my path, my artwork I'm up here on my toolbar. It is grayed out still. The reason it's grayed out is because these are not in the right order. So my half circle here, I've got to bring that to the front. And then when I select, and actually it's the opposite way around, I need my heart to be in the front. And then select my shape. So, and I can't remember all the time because they're, you know, some of these things. So but I know sometimes the order matters. And if it's grayed out, then I know I've got it wrong. So here, repeat on path. In fact, maybe that would be a good tool tip to pop out is the, about that, your object being first or last. So now that I have these selected and I click repeat on path, it asks me some questions, but I'm actually going to leave the default, but you certainly can adjust these, the reflect and other things like that. And now I've just made myself a cute little scalloped heart. And so turn it pink. I'm going to right mouse click on pink. Whoop, I have the wrong thing select. I had both of them selected. So let's make heart red again. And then I'm fill that in. I'm going to go up here to outline, click fill and click apply. So isn't that cute? So now I've got 2 shapes. I can use them separately, or I could layer them like they are here. Or if I just want the scallop, I could certainly subtract and get rid of my heart in the center. So isn't that cute? So I love that repeat path tool. You can also do the thing, that little spike actually will put those spikes all around too. So what do you guys think about that? Isn't that easy? Okay, now let me show you the knockout because it's actually part of this list. And I'll show you my Be Mine knockout and how I created this. And then we'll go to some more questions before we do the auto-vectorizing. Okay, so I've got my text already on the screen, but just so that we get more practice, let me add my text onto a new workspace. So I'm going to click my new workspace. I'm going to choose my text tool and I'm going to put B. And I used a text from my list that I think it's called Bernard or something like that. It kind of is condensed, so I liked it. And then I actually created, instead of putting my mine on a second row, I'm going to add another row of text. So I went back and selected my text tool again, and I'm going to click on the screen. And then I'm going to put mine. And I'll show you why I did those in separate text. Okay. So let me click one more time. My A is still on my cursor. So if I just click, it'll drop my text, you know, again. So let me put Be Mine. And I'll show you why I did 2 separate. Okay, so I'm going to click apply. So here I wanted the B of my Be Mine. I wanted this to be as wide as the mine. So it made a square for my heart to punch into. And when I have my text all as one object, I don't have the ability to just stretch that B that easily. Okay, I can certainly select each object separately and I can resize it, but notice it's resizing proportionately, whereas I needed to stretch it. So that's why I made them 2 separate objects. And when I say 2 separate objects, over here in my sequence view, you can see I have text twice. Those are 2 separate objects. Another thing with a knockout design that I do think is good practice, make your letters as close together as possible because it'll make your design appear more clearly, the design that you're knocking out. So I'm just going to put a -3 and see what I get. So that actually looks pretty good. Look how close those letters are. And then for the B, since I only have the 2 letters, I could use my text tool again. And I could slide these closer together so I don't have to figure out a number. And then whenever I click over here, I'm going to just stretch that to be as wide as my mind. Okay. And then I'm going to select everything, click and drag a box around it. And then I'm actually going to stretch it taller, just like that. And that's just a personal preference. You don't have to do that. Let's change our color. So remember, change your color. You want to right mouse click on the color chip that you want. I'm going to do a light pink here so we can really see this. And now we need our heart shape. So I'm going to go up to my artwork tool, click the drop down, and choose the heart. And then I'm going to click and drag. Now I'm going to do this right over my text. It'll kind of give me an idea of how large I want it to be. And now I've got my text. I'm going to change that to red and filled. So let's go over here to our properties. Fill. It'll fill in my heart for me. And I'm going to right mouse click on the red chip to turn it red. Now with a knockout design, in order to be able to see what that alternative design is supposed to be, it really is kind of makes it more visible if your most important points of your design. So like this tip of this heart is a defining point of a heart so that it doesn't just look like a circle, then it's always a good idea to make those points fall on your text if you can. So I just kind of angled mine to the side like that so that we could really make it out. And certainly you could make this smaller, larger, you know, whatever works for your design. So, okay. So now that I've got that lined up, I'm going to select everything, click and drag a box around it, and you can see that my knockout is available. And I'm just going to click that one time. It asks me if I want a distance, and I'm just going to put, let's just do like a 0.02. It's going to put a little bit of space around my heart. And look at that. Isn't that cute? Now, this is a really cute design to cut out of HTV if you want, or pressure sensitive adhesive vinyl, but I can also turn it into embroidery. Now, a word of caution, we know when we do an applique design, the applique stitches are wide, so it's really going to take up a lot of space in here. So if you want to do applique with a satin finish, might want to give yourself a little bit of extra room around the design, because watch, you can see what it does. So that just makes like a big mess, right? But if you have a larger design, or adjust your stitches, or like in this case, just using a run stitch, you can do that as well. And so, and I see that little stitch right there, that is a jump stitch that I see jumping across, because it's going to stitch the interior and jump across and stitch the exterior, or vice versa. So, and now what I did was just for visual purposes, under my fabrics, I can audition my HTV, or if you've want to add some fabrics here, you certainly can too, into my design. And then I'm going to select the heart, go back to the fabrics, and then I'm going to put the red glitter in that one, just like that. So isn't that cute? Now for the arrow going through, the arrow is a built-in design. And this is a really good example too of editing. So under the Valentine category, I've got this arrow and some other cute little designs there that you could use as well. And I just split this design so that it was running through my text exactly where I wanted it to. So to split, we actually saw this last week, just for splitting that snowflake or 2 weeks ago. The slice tool will allow you to slice anywhere along here. So I just split it kind of in the middle. And once I drag across, then I'm going to hit the enter on my keyboard. And then now I have this break apart option that's available, which wasn't available before. And that's going to separate my arrow into two pieces. So, and so you can just move it right to the edge. I just put it kind of right at the end, just like that. And now you can turn that into an applique, a run stitch, or it can just be artwork. And maybe I would send that to the back so that it stitches first and my letters will be over top of it. So if I use my send to back option, you could adjust that. If you want the arrow to be shorter, you can cut off a section. So do 2 cuts and just cut out the middle. So that would be something that you could do to shorten this up if you want. Edit that artwork. It makes it a lot easier. So, but isn't that cute? And then here, I might want to angle this. It kind of looks like it's not going the same trajectory, right? So there's my kind of angle it to get that look. Here we go. And then the same thing, if you want to fill these 2 shapes with some color, or to see what it's going to look like if you put some HTV in there, you can add that as well. So maybe I'll do the dark pink against that. So isn't that cute? So that's called knockout. So when you select text and you have a shape over top, they kind of combine the 2 shapes and it becomes one, just like you see here. But you can cut that out. You can also turn it into an embroidery design like you see here. So isn't that cute? I love it. I love it. Okay, let's see if we have other questions, and then I'll do the auto-vectorizing for you. So I think we talked about adding the eye and the split. And so Marcy says, I have some questions as Sherry, I have Pep, Cut and Stitch, Pam, and I seem to have to click on the program to open the icons. Shouldn't it all be active? So when you have multiple pieces of software, yes, all of the icons are active. So I think maybe, Marcy, I probably answered your question when we were talking about the icons being grayed out. You may not have an object on the screen that is able to use that feature. So if it's an embroidery feature or an embroidery editing, and if you're trying to do it to artwork, you know, and vice versa, that might be the reason. But yes, those 3 programs that you have, every feature that's available in those 3 would definitely be active and able to be used in your software. So really good question. So, and then Shelly says, is this just for cutting and or sewing and embroidery? So it can save to embroidery machine formats, all formats for all home brand embroidery machines, even commercial format. It does have built-in features too to be able to save to a cutting machine. But Shelly, just because it's there doesn't mean that if you don't have a cutter, you know, certainly you still could use this for your embroidery features that are included as well. So because it's got, you know, tons of those also. So, and Annie says, is it possible to add other media into the fabric section? It sure is. When I go back over there, Annie, I'll show that. Hopefully I can remember that. But in that fabric library, if you right mouse click on the categories, it gives you the option to add, and you can take an image, take a photograph with your phone, snag a one from the internet. A lot of fabric companies have swatches, and you can add those in too. So so yeah, I love being able to add all those different fabrics. Really good question for sure. So, and then Carol says, what is morph for? I missed it. I missed something. And so Carol, morph takes a built-in shape like a star, and it will morph that into a variation of that star. So the star with the little slider, I was able to add more points. I was able to add points that were more curved, or kind of distort them a little bit. So it'll allow you to take that shape, and just by moving those sliders, get a completely different shape from that morph feature. So it's really a cool feature. And you can, you know, draw so many shapes and adjust as well. So, and then Shelly also asked, so can you download any file type, or does it have to be SVG or PES so that you can manipulate it? So Shelly, the Cut and Stitch software will read and write to several different artwork formats. So vector files, usually SVG, FCM, AI files, DXF, PLT files. So those are several of the options. And then for embroidery files, which is your PES file, it will read and allow you to do some minor editing to any stitch file format. So no matter what brand you're working with, we can read it in as long as it's not native to that particular software. So, and then Jan says, are the trim, weld, etc. Available in PEP? Jan, some of them are. I know the weld is in there, and a couple of others. Jan, in your Perfect Embroidery Pro, they're located under your right mouse click and shaping. and you'll be able to find those there. So another really great question. So I love that you guys are um, so proficient and use your software regularly. So, and then Laura says, when you send this to the cutter, does the text have to be backwards? So Laura, it depends on what you're cutting. So if you are, say, going to cut your applique fabric, I usually put a fusible web on the back of my applique fabric, and then I cut from the right side. Some people like to cut from the paper side on their fabric, so then you would want to mirror it. When you're using HTV, yes, you want to mirror the text. And when you are using pressure sensitive or sticky vinyl, then you don't have to mirror it. So making sure that you mirror depends on what you're cutting, and that will determine whether or not you need to mirror it or not. So, and then Annie says, how do I add more fabric options? Okay, you asked that again, Annie, and I did answer, so perfect. So, and then Dalu says, love it. You make it look so easy. So Dalu, I use it all the time, but I'm hoping that all of you viewers are getting more proficient with your software. And I hope it becomes this easy, because when you use it regularly, it really does start to become second nature. So just use it more, practice, and you'll get much better at it the more you go. So, and Ann Philback, hey, good to see you. And so she said she just got here back from Wintergreen Mountain Resort. So we're glad you could join us. Ann, if you missed some of the beginning, you know that you can always rewatch over on our YouTube channel. All of our past videos are there under the Software Success. And you guys know Eileen actually shows Facebook on her Thursday Between Friends. She shows software there too. So it's always a good place to learn on, you know, anything that we're doing. We all love our software. So, right? Okay, so now let's head back over here, and I'm going to talk to you about auto-vectorizing an image. Okay, so I'm going to go to my little wizard hat here. The wizard hat is a way for me to be able to select an image, and the software does all of the work to turn it into an artwork file. And so let's see how we can do that. And actually, I'm going to do a cancel here. And then go back so that it looks like it does when you only have cut and stitch. So let me head back over here now. Okay, so this will do better. So when you have other software, all of those options that popped up below, those are actually options because I own other Dime software. So now when you have cut and stitch, it's just auto-vectorizing, which is fine because once it's vectorized, we can then convert it to embroidery. So I'm going to click Browse. And then I'm going to go to my C Dime Designs folder. We have some images that you can play with. And so I'm just going to use an image that's built in. So these are, when you install any Dime software, these get installed. So you can play with them and manipulate them so that to see exactly what's going to happen. Now, this is a PNG, but this also works with a JPEG or a bitmap file. And so I'm just going to say open. And then I'm going to click next, and then it's going to do some work for me. And then it actually is taking an image and it's tracing it for me. So it's auto tracing so that it can turn it into an embroidery design. So I'll let it keep thinking here. Hopefully it's doing its thing. Still, and then we'll just look and see while it's thinking here if we've got anything else, any other questions there. Hopefully it's not locked up. There we go. Okay, so now that it has done its job, I need to do some computer cleaning, I think, or something, but it is has pretty much at this point, it's traced it for me. So when I click next, then it's going to say, do you want to include all of these colors? And I do, because I want all parts of the design. But let's just say that you didn't want the pink or the yellow or whatever. If you uncheck that before you save it, then it will not create the yellow areas. But I want all of them. So I'm just going to say finish. Okay. And then it'll add that to my workspace. And so now it is exactly like the other artwork. I can separate these pieces out. I can edit it if I want to. And I can convert it to embroidery. I can convert it to rhinestones. And so I'm just going to do put that back into place there. and then we'll see about converting it. So now that it's been vectorized, it's an artwork file, and then you just simply select it and you can convert it to rhinestones. So if I do rhinestones there, I'm actually going to then delete these extra pieces because it's too much. You know, at this size, I don't want it to turn these pieces into rhinestones. So I'll just get rid of those. I'm going to click again to turn that into rhinestones. Actually do the rhinestone fill, and it adds a little bit more. But you can also, you know, change this to embroidery. If I select these pieces here and click on my auto-vectorizing tool, it says, do you want to automatically digitize these artwork? And then I just say yes, and it turns it into an embroidery design. Whoops. For me. So I'm going to put that back. So let's just select the yellow pieces. I'm going to turn those into rhinestones. And then over here, my sequence view, I can just select this color chip and get rid of all those extra colors all at one time. So, and then I don't want to select all of the bling. So there we go. Now, if I truly was going to have this 3 different types of media, I would probably separate these out. So if I click and drag, I don't want my rhinestones to be overlapped. So I can move those out a little bit, just like that. And like that. And so then I've got a cute little design. It's part embroidery, it's part rhinestone. And I did not convert the little antenna. And so those could be just your cut file. Now, remember when you are saving from cut and stitch, you do have to save based on the type of media you're going to be using. So if you are embroidering, you want to choose File and Save As. And then you're going to choose from the drop-down list your embroidery machine format. So I'm going to click PES. And then let's just put this back on my desktop here. And I'm just going to call this the butterfly body. And click Save. Okay, and I save that as a PES file. So I would need to stitch this part on my embroidery machine. The rhinestones, I need to do File and Export Bling. And you can see that this is going to export in the 2 different pages because I've got 2 different colors, the red and the yellow for my butterfly. So there's the bottom part, there's the top part, and then I just click Save, and it's going to do all the work for me. I've already got my format chosen up here. You can choose from any of these formats for your digital cutters, SVG, AI, DXF, FCM, PLT. So I'm going to click Save. And that's the format to go to my, for my cutter, for my rhinestones. And for the digital cutter, for your cut files, when you select this, you want to click your cutter. So you can see that it only pulls in what I've selected. And these 2 little antennas are just artwork. So I could cut those out of some sort of HTV if I wanted. And in this butterfly here, we've got 3 different types of media, all created with cut and stitch. The rhinestones, to change colors, they work the same exact way that your color chips do. So select that and do a right mouse click on the rhinestone. Do make sure, notice when I select my embroidery, my color chips change back to regular chips and not a stone. Do make sure that if you are doing the rhinestone design, that you do have it set to the right size stone before you save. So I use the 10SS. That's what I have the majority of. So I really, I have a whole list of those. So I've got my palette set up where it's mostly 10SS stone sizes. So really cool, right? And easy. So I love that. Okay, and so while we're here, notice that my fabric option is grayed out. We've talked about this several times. It's because I don't have anything that I could fill with fabric selected. Now, the antenna, you wouldn't be able to see it, but notice when I select them, it'll let me choose my fabric library. And so if I do a right mouse click, you can see I have the add option. So if you click add, it'll allow you to locate an image on your computer, and then it'll add it to your library here. So you can add your own fabric and your own images as well. So really another really easy way to customize your software for sure. So, okay, so if you have not done rhinestones, I do have this little video here. Once you save your file, I showed this a couple of weeks ago and I just wanted to show it again. Your digital cutter is going to cut out the template for your rhinestone design. And so I'm cutting it out of this rhinestone material, and you can see it cuts a little circle for every single rhinestone so that when I rake those in, it's going to make the shape of an A. Now, I just use like a little baking dish that I get from like the dollar store because it has those short edges and it will contain my stones. I use this brush to rake those into the little openings and then get all the excess out of the way so it doesn't stick to my tape. And then I'm going to put my lifting tape, which is specific to doing rhinestones because it does have to be able to withstand heat. And you can see it holds all those stones together. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And then head over to whatever you're fusing this onto. And I just use my little craft iron here. You could use a heat press. Hold that. Our stones, the ones that we sell here at Dime, it's 320 degrees for 20 seconds for each one of those presses, 20 to 25 seconds. You just keep pressing and then it bonds those to your fabric. So isn't that cute? I love that. So love, love, love working with the rhinestones. So we talked more about that 2 weeks ago. So you can go back and watch that presentation again as well. And to find those past presentations, they are on our YouTube channel. So if you go to our dzgns.com YouTube channel, you'll be able to find all past lives. And so I definitely would love it if you would like us on Facebook and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll give you notifications when we're going live. So watch this video of how to subscribe. And while it's playing, I'm going to read questions. And so we'll answer questions one more time before we go. But let's see how to like and subscribe for Facebook and YouTube.
In this video, we'll show you how to subscribe to a YouTube channel and follow a Facebook page. Let's start with YouTube. First, open your web browser and navigate to youtube.com. Once you're on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Click on it and go to the channel page. Once on the channel page, click the subscribe button. And that's it. You're now subscribed to the channel. Now, let's move on to Facebook. Once you're on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. When you find the page you want to follow, click on it and go to the page. Once on the page, click the three dots on the right side and select the follow button. And that's it. Now you're following the page. Thanks for watching.
So make sure you do that. And so let me answer some more questions before we go here. Some good ones have popped up. And so Monica says, how do you set your rhinestones to what you have on hand? Very good question. I did talk about that more 2 weeks ago, Monica, so you can always go back and look at that. But let me share my screen here again with the software and I'll show you. So over here in your properties area, there's a drop-down list that you can choose from. And I actually even have this list set to the stones that I have. And also, if you just select your rhinestone design and you click on one of the rhinestones below, a left click will open up your rhinestone palette, and you can change that size here. You can see that I have this blue one set to a 10S. I'm going to make it to a 20 and click OK, and you'll see it get much bigger on the screen. So if you do a regular left mouse click on your bead, it'll bring up your color rhinestone colors, and you can change that size. So very good question. So love that. So, and then again, like I said, watch that last one because there are also more information on rhinestones in the episode that was 2 weeks ago. So, and then Annie says, once I've created a design, but I want to add a rhinestone scatter, how do I do that? So put a rhinestone outline, Annie. And then once you do the outline, you'll have the option for the scatter over in your box over your, here, I'll do it around this one, over in your properties box. So create an outline with this create outline tool. And you can make it as far away as you want from your design. And then that outline, turn it into a rhinestone stroke by clicking that icon there. Make sure you've got your rhinestone size set, and then these outer rings here, increase that number, and then choose the scatter option here from the style and click apply, and I'll zoom out and we can see what it does. And it just kind of scatters some of the stones around your design there. And you also have a fade out options 1 and 2, which will give you a little bit different look. And then also if you want the stripes, it'll do that too. So create an outline. That was this button here. Add the bling stroke. That was this icon here. And then change your outer rings and your style type. So those are your steps, Annie. Another really good question. So you guys are awesome. And so then I see Joyce and Sandy asked like a very similar question about the different formats in PES. So which one do you use? Okay, so those formats evolve every time Brother and Baby Lock come out with a new embroidery machine. And so you always want to use the latest version because it has as much information encoded in that as possible. So use for the machines that Joyce listed, her Brother Quattro and the Destiny 2, you can use the latest version. PES 9 will work just fine. But I always use the latest version when I can because it has the most information coded in that file format. So, and that's what all of those formats were for past years. As machines involved, the actual digital file has to hold more information. So the format also evolves as well. So, and how many files can be seen at a time in the viewing program? Can minor editing be done in the viewing program? So I'm thinking, Ellen, that you might be talking about Perfect Stitch Viewer. Perfect Stitch Viewer is only for viewing your designs, and it doesn't have a limit on how many you can view. And as far as editing goes, you can, with the Embroidery Toolshed, the free version, you can resize, rotate, change the color, put 2 designs on the screen. So there are some editing capabilities because that Embroidery Toolshed will install in there. So yeah, another really good question. And then will you show some sample projects in the future? So I like to see how to use some of the designs. So yeah, so this is really software, but I can certainly bring in some pictures and incorporate that of some things that I've made using these designs. That's another really good tip. And if you guys, if there is something else you want to see, we are a new year for Software Success. So let me know if there's things that you want to see. Like join our Facebook user group, the Inspired by Dime software users over on Facebook, and tell us over there what you'd like to see too in the Software Success, and I'll try my best to make sure it's incorporated because that's what we're here for, to make sure that you get the help that you need. Now, if you don't already have cut and stitch, then make sure that you check out our special, and I'll share that with you. But check with your local dealer. I always recommend that as well. They can give you the absolute best price on any of our Dime products. So we love to support our local dealers. We would not be here if it weren't for them. Now in 2 weeks, actually I think it might be 3 weeks, for the first Tuesday in February, I will be doing My Fabric Designer. That is a software from Dime that will allow you to create a repeatable pattern that you can then print your own fabric. So you certainly could print a small scale, on a home printer if you have those sheets that'll feed through. You can also save files to go to print on demand companies. So I'm sure you've seen some of those in the internet, but if you've ever wanted to kind of do your own designing, this is a really easy way to do it. And I'm also going to show you how you can design even a printed quilt if you want, or a panel. So you can do that and print from the print on demand company. So we'll see that on February the 6th. So make sure you join me back. So check out Cut and Stitch if you don't already own it and you think you would like to. You can also try it within the Embroidery Toolshed over in your shopping area. You can try any Dime software for free. When you click that options button, there's a try. It'll let you play with every feature. You just won't be able to save. So if you don't own it, try it. And then if you love it, check with your local Dime dealer. And certainly you can also check on our website too for the special that we have. So until another Software Success guide, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this Software Success, and I will see you at the next one.